I can shout it out.
And we're live. Yeah, I know, huh? I should have totally like posted that we're going live. Let's do that right now. But we're live now. What's going on, Isaac?
Hey, not much, Marco. How's your day, man? How's your Sunday?
You know, man, it's a Sunday with the family. I try to make sure Sundays are always family days, even though they're the day after the fights, and I like to get the fights out as soon as possible. I try to make sure it's a family day. So if something's got to wait, it's gonna be the fights. So
Hey, man. Hey, speaking of fights, man. Woo, that was a fun night. There was a lot of people there yesterday.
man, SparStar 52. You know what was really cool about last night is just having all of us there. I thought that was
Yeah,
awesome. I thought having all the guys, all the photographers, even though it was a little on the extra side,
a little
uh,
crowded.
it, yeah, it was a lot of guys though that we've all worked with. You know, like I worked with Curtis and Jenna and you, and it's really cool to get everyone together and have all that positivity. And Emily too, like having everybody there was really awesome. I thought that was a fun time. I thought it made
Yeah,
for a good vibe.
yeah. Shout
It's,
out to all the photographers there, man. Like especially the ones that been in the game for a while. You and I'm new to the game. I started in March of last year, and man, everybody is just they're so cool, and they just show a lot of love. So shout out to all the photographers, man.
yeah, let's see. Let's type this out. Let's say head over to YouTube. I should have posted a link. Leave it to me. I can always go and post a link right now. Here I go. I'll do that. Either way, all right. Let's get into it, boss. What did you think about the night overall, man? How did you like that crowd? That crowd was crazy.
Yeah, typically the SparStars events that I've been to, right from the get go, they're usually pretty full. And this one was a little bit of slow. It was a slow burn. The first few fights were a little, not so much of a big crowd, but man, by the fifth, sixth fight, everybody just slowly but surely just started trickling in. And man, by the middle of the card, everybody was just rocking and rolling, and the energy was just crazy. It was great to be a part of that. This is my first card in the beginning of this year, so yeah, it was great, man.
Yeah, dude. I thought I've been a few Spar Stars, and my biggest reference point is Fighters Rep, right? Because I worked like 12 different shows with Fighters Rep, So
Yeah,
I went to Spar Star before then, but I know that the last couple Fighters Rep shows were loud, and I would rival this crowd got as loud as any of those shows, and that goes for I've been up next. I mean, when the main event came out, those guys packed the house, dude. Because as soon as they were
yeah,
done, as soon as Sasha Youngblood's last fight, Sasha Neek's Youngblood's, she was the second fight, or she was the next fight right after the main event. That
yeah.
that crowd was half empty then, but man, when they were all there, they got loud. It was deafening. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I've been to this. I think this is my fourth SparStar event, and
Okay.
this by far was the loudest and biggest crowd that I've seen for a main event. And I think Tony, uh, it was his last fight for the promotion. So man, and they
Supposedly, right? So the last fight, the
is
EFL
that, is
one,
that
the
the
eight
rumor?
fight league,
Is that the
that
rumor?
eight fight league was supposed to be his last one. I don't know if you watched the eight fight. You were there, but the same announcer came out and the same thing. He said, "Oh, this is probably the last time I'll be able to talk to you." And Tony, after the fight, was kind of like, "I'm 21. I'm not rushing it." So
Mm,
I think the idea is he's ready. Because let's face it, Tony's an elite prospect, and
yeah.
I don't see anybody that they can match him up with that's going to give him a hard time. Because he kind of there's guys Hamza Trod would give him a hard time. But I don't know if Hamza Trod is going to be someone they want to match him up with. They're around the same weight. I don't know if Hamza uh, fights at 145 when he does MMA, but that's what he
Hmm.
did when he fought kickboxing. He fought at like 147, and then he captured the up next title. And that's the only guy that I think could give Tony a hard time. But I think even even Hamza, the even Trod, his wrestling of Tony's just so dominating. He takes these guys down like no problem at all, and cuts right through them like a knife through butter, you know. And yeah, I don't know if he'll go pro. If he goes pro, I think they mentioned Combate because I think the SparStar guys are Combate. They do the matchmaking, so it'll be
Mm.
interesting to see if that's the route that he goes.
Yeah, man. Whatever he does, bro. Like, man, I just want to see it. I just want to see it. Like, I love the energy he brings. I love his fighting style. Him and Quest when they were in there, man, you could just feel the tension. Like they were ready. They were ready for war, and they brought it. Granted, Tony won, but man, for a while they were definitely like they were biting at the chomp, man, just going after it, and you love to see it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, man. When Quest went in the ring, when first of all, Quest won the battle of the entrances to me, man. I love that song "Bro Him" by Pennywise, uh,
Yeah,
and I love the live version. That crowd was lit for that. You know,
yeah.
they started going off. I think Jose definitely brought more people. There was definitely more people in his corner. But Quest, when he was coming through, like he brought energy, man. I didn't know. Like normally when these guys are like the opponent, you worry that they're just gonna go there. They gotta know that they're the underdog. They know that they're not meant to win.
Hmm.
But I thought Quest went in there with the right attitude. You know, he didn't go in there looking defeated. He went in there. He was shouting like, "This is my home. This is our
Hmm.
home." And I was like, "Whoa, this." You know, like he at least he's bringing the right attitude to the fight. But I never
Yeah,
really
I
had any
agree.
doubts. I thought Tony was gonna smash him.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, man. I'm not as familiar with these guys as you are. Like I said, I just started this MMA or this combat sports journey in March of last year. As far as going to all the fights and photographing them and stuff. But but yeah, I saw Quest fight before, and I was excited. I was just excited, and then all the build up to this was just exciting, man. You just all the interviews and everything. It was exciting. That's all I can say. The energy was just so high, and the crowd definitely they definitely got their money's worth, man. Like it was an awesome show.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you. Like when I was doing the fighters rep, I would interview the fighters beforehand, so I knew a lot, like the whole card. I could tell you top to bottom. With
Mhm.
this one, you know, there's names that I can pick out and choose. You know that I or pick out that I know because they've been on a lot of cards, but I don't know everybody. Like, here's one thing that I wanted to ask that maybe you might know more of, but it's new to me. Like, this is only the second time I've ever seen it. What's with these people with those shirts that fight with the shirts on? Like, that looks like
Yes,
what's that deal? What's Alta or?
I believe it's called Alta. From my understanding, and this is information that I got from Emily, who's a photographer there. Um, Essentially they are like a program that if you want to try MMA, you sign up for this program, and they coach you. There's high level coaches, and they you have like a fight camp. You go through the whole thing like a fighter. I'm not exactly sure how many weeks is it, and then they put together a fight, which is all those people that are wearing those shirts, they were from that company or
Okay,
whatever it is. So a lot of those people never had any fight experience. They were all O and O. So it was really cool to see just your average Joe, so to speak, or people that just want to get some experience, just go in there and go after it, man. And some of those fights were pretty entertaining. They were kind of
yeah,
sloppy, but they were
yeah,
entertaining.
they're entertaining. I thought I was impressed in the first fight. I believe it's George Harris and Patrick
Yes.
Yapajogo. I have it
Hmm.
written down. It's hard to pronounce names when you're on the fly. But but the young man who had lost all the weight, like
Yeah.
like that's impressive because you can tell he lost so much weight in the way that he wanted to kind of like it felt like he wanted to celebrate. He wanted to go fight. So you know,
Hmm.
like props to him, dude, because you got to go take your shirt off, and he was the only one from that thing that seemed to take his shirt off. But I'm pretty sure they're all from the same place, and because they're usually the openers of the cards now. I saw him at Up Next, the same idea of like all the people with the
Hmm.
shirts. It was just a trip. I'm not used to seeing that, but those guys they had fun. That kid Egypt, I've seen him win. He won the last time, and this time I
Okay.
believe he took a quick loss. His opponent looked really good. His opponent looked promising. That was early on. Let me see if I can get that guy's name right now. It's a Khalil Pearson. I think you got to keep
Yes.
an eye out for Khalil Pearson. He looked promising. If he wants to go down this road, if these guys help him, he trains out of Legacy, Los Angeles. It looks like. Uh, I don't know that gym, but dude, they did a good job getting him ready because he looked good. And one of the first fights that I really wanted to talk about that I know, the CSW guy. This one was Julian Navarro, I believe his name. Yeah, Julian Navarro. He took on Manuel Conde. The biggest thing about CSW with Badger Jones. Are you familiar with Badger Jones, the coach?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, okay, you're gonna get familiar with this guy. This guy's a
Hmm.
character, dude. He's Jacob Rosales, his head coach. Jacob Rosales is a pretty accomplished local fighter. You know, he's been on the Contender Series twice for Dana White. He's been on it twice, but he's also headlined a lot of shows. Headlined LFA. He's headlined a lot of the local shows. He's been like almost a journeyman in that case, but he's a good fighter. And his coach is Ben Jones. They go by the Badger, and he has like his whole little crew. They all come out with the flag. They all like when you hear them when they're fighting. Ben Jones screams out like La Habra, La Habra, Fullerton,
Yeah.
Fullerton, like their code names for whatever move they're supposed to do. But I mean, he's loud as fuck. He's louder than everybody there. He can project his voice, so it's pretty entertaining when he comes. But the number one thing he's known for, and at least in my opinion, the number one thing I know from him is when they're right about to fight, he he goes and he Vaselines them down, and then as soon as they're ready, like he'll give them the hardest smack that you'll ever see before the fight. And right before this fight for Navarro, he smacked him so hard. You know how I was up on the perch. You
Yeah.
can see Navarro's face got like red. That I was like, holy shit, that looked like it hurt. And I don't know if Ben Jones kind of thought something about it, because the next time he had his fighter come out there, he didn't smack him as hard. He had a second fighter. It was a kid who got knocked out, but that guy, he didn't smack as hard at all. Like one guy, like I'm telling you, dude, his face was like beat red. Like I don't know if he left a bruise in the Navarro, but it was damaging. And
Hey, maybe he
that
should
kid,
have smacked the other fighter a little bit harder. Maybe. I don't know.
like I'm wondering, like when I saw it, like I don't want to like get in trouble here, but I was like, did he not smack him because he was worried that he hit him so hard? Maybe I didn't hear the smack as well, and he did smack him. But yeah, you know what's funny about that second fighter that he had, uh, the opponent, and I'll try and look it up real quick so I can get the opponent's name because he deserves the respect because he did good. It was Kenny Tran, was from CSW, which is Ben Jones's camp, and
Mhm.
then he fought Arthur Sanchez,
Yes.
and Arthur Sanchez fights out of King's MMA,
Hmm.
which is in Huntington Beach. He fights the Huntington Beach one, and then they said King's MMA via Marietta. So like imagine that. Like how much do you want to be a fighter if you're driving from Marietta to Huntington Beach every day? Like you
Yeah.
got to really want it. And as soon as I heard that, I go, "Oh man, this kid's gonna be in trouble because this guy really wants to be a fighter." He didn't look as like the most in shape guy. He had like a soft body, but I go, "You're not traveling that far every day." That's what I say about the kids from in Fighters Rep. What's the ones that they train in Fullerton? Raymond Martinez and uh, Joseph Claycombe's kid, Michael Claycombe. Those two guys, they
Yeah.
travel far. Raymond travels like I think it's an hour to get there every day, and an
Yeah. You
hour
got
back.
Dylan.
You figure.
You got Dylan Ludwig out of the same camp who's traveling from Simi Valley all the way
No
to
fucking a
Riverside.
man.
So I think uh, from all the fighters I've interviewed so far, he's the one that I know that travels the farthest. Like it's
That's
a beast.
madness. Like that's you got to be dead on committed. You know, like and more power to them if they are. You know, I don't know. Maybe they got electric cars or something because I couldn't. I couldn't afford that. I had a fighter hit me up yesterday asking if I could be a personal photographer, and it's like, hey,
Mhm.
just like not even thinking twice. It's just like, hey, dude, there's no way I could afford that in gas. Like you're you're a half hour from my house. Just driving an extra half hour every day would just burn my. I drive a big truck. Imagine having to drive 2 hours. Like if you're driving from Simi Valley, you must
Yeah.
really want it. Like, and that shows a lot of heart. So that's why I knew the kid coming from Marietta. I knew he was gonna do good. And man, how about that? Was there a knockout late after I left? I left right like I think there was like 3 fights left. But was that the only
Um,
knockout?
that I recall, yes. There was a couple finishes, um, but yeah, that was the only one that I remember. The one that the performance that really uh just I think uh resonated with me the most was Youngblood that you were talking about out of Blackbeard. Man, she pieced up her opponent the whole time. I felt bad for that girl. Um
She was tough.
Nayari.
The girl she fought was tough.
And the
Could
thing that the thing about it is the opponent's name is Nayeli Morales out of Switch Fitness.
okay.
She that was her debut, man. And to have
That's
I
a
don't know how
rough
to say,
debut.
yeah, how do you say Youngblood's name?
It's
Shashanique?
Sashanique. Yeah.
Okay,
Sashanique.
Shashanique, yes. Man, she put it on her for that being her debut. Oh man, that was a tough debut, bro.
Man, like I went and interviewed Sashanique when it was a Fighters Rep 15 for the one in December. She was supposed to be on that card. She was gonna fight a girl named Stephanie McMahon. Is it Stephanie McMahon? Jacqueline McMahon. Jacqueline McMahon. I'm thinking about
Oh, you're
wrestling.
thinking of wrestling over here.
Yeah, but her name's Jacqueline McMahon.
Okay.
And I remember I went to Blackbeard first. We went to Blackbeard kickboxing first, and then it was like the next week or whatever. I went to it was Bakersfield because Sugarfoot trains in Bakersfield, and she's part of that. She's part for Peterson Grapplers is the name of the crew, but Sugarfoot's her coach, and Sugarfoot. That girl looked really good, but I was just thinking, I was like, I don't know, man, because the difference in the crack, like when I saw Youngblood punch, I was like, dude, she can crack, and she was in there sparring with David Pacheco, who can really crack himself, and I'm sure he wasn't going 100% on her, but if you're going to be sparring with someone like that, you must be able to you must be pretty aggressive, and I thought she looked good. I thought she looked controlled too. I didn't think she looked wild. Like for being, I think that's only her second fight. She looked under
Yeah.
control. I thought that was a good fight by her, man.
Yeah, I was
She's
actually talking to Curtis about that fight right after the fight ended, and we were taking the celebration photos, and he told me that he he felt like she could have ended the fight in the first round, but she definitely was poised and controlled and just try to just be a technician out there. I'm sure she probably could have, but yeah, man, she waited for that second round and put it on uh, that kid Morales, and I got to give Morales a lot of credit because she
yeah.
did not stop the
She
whole
didn't
time.
quit. She went the
Didn't
whole
quit.
time.
She didn't quit. The ref had to get in there and stop the fight, which I'm glad he did. But she did not quit.
Yeah, it was funny. I heard the ref talking to like the other refs because they're all amateur coach or amateur refs, and they're all learning. And it was the older ref that was there. I forget his name. They call him the Joker, the gesture. And he was telling him, explaining. He goes, "Well, I gotta assess like how much damage do I want to let her take, And
Mm.
it's like, I mean, that's what you got to do. But she took damage, man. I'll tell you 100%. When my photos come out of her fight, she was like the main one that fight had the most like face smashing images. Like
Yeah,
every
yeah,
shot rearranged her opponent's face. Youngblood threw with a lot of power, and
yes,
I could imagine the strategy someone's gonna try to have when they take her on. They're gonna try to get her off her feet. So if she sticks with MMA, and I think she might do a lot more kickboxing, boxing, if that's where she could get opponents. But the
yeah,
problem is there's just not that many opponents, and I can tell you in kickboxing, it's a very small circle. There's just not a lot of girls that fight kickboxing. Since I was
mhm,
with Fighters Rep, I think we had like maybe like if we had 6 total girl fights, total, and they had 6. That was it. And all the years I was with them, it's just not as big a community. And there's more in MMA, but it's not as many as you would think. There was a
Yeah.
girl who's in her division, Youngbloods, who's the champ. She's actually the SparStar champ, and it's Jennifer Flores. I don't know if
Hmm.
you ever seen her fight. That would
Yeah.
be a fun fight, but I would imagine Jen wouldn't want to stand with her. Jen would take her down
Hmm.
because I don't think anyone should stand with. If anyone stands with Youngblood's going to do some damage. She cracks, man. She cracks harder than anyone I've seen as far as girls in SparStar. Like I wouldn't want to see. I wouldn't strategize to stand up with her. You know what, dude? Another one that got to give credit, and I don't think he's going to get enough credit because of Tony having such a big performance, is the guy who was the welterweight champ,
Yeah.
the gentleman who went in there and I guess he defended his title. He was from
Yeah.
San Diego. He's from the arena. He was a good fighter. Let's look up his name real quick.
Yes. Robert.
Bobby Winter, right? Robert Winter.
Yes, sir.
Man, that guy
And
was good.
his opponent hasn't lost. I seen him at the last SparStar event in November. Uh, uh, Fardad, I think is his last
Yeah,
name.
for Farhad, or I think it's Farhad.
Okay, Farhad. And yeah, that his last fight, I was there. I got to photograph, and man, he did a great job. I hadn't seen Bobby fight, so I was really interested on how that matchup was going to be. And man, it was back and forth for a little while, but then yeah, Bobby just took over and just defended his title.
I seen what happened from my vantage point is Farhad got a little aggressive, over aggressive,
Mm,
and with the striking, and when you get these good wrestlers that are really good, that's where they see that overhand right, they can time it, they go right under, and then he was a good scrambler too. He kept them down there and he would counter the positions, and yeah, he looked good, man. The problem once again is I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot of there's not a lot of competition at these higher weights here in Southern California. You
yeah,
know, and you don't think of like welterweight being a high weight, but it is. Like when you look at like where all the people fight, all the good talent that you see, a lot of them are like flyweights and bantamweights and featherweights. And it makes me wonder too, is like if these are the guys who are graduating and going into the pros, there's not a lot of bigger guys coming from Southern California because like the majority of the pros that I know, like Joshua Powell, he fights out of CMMA. He's a 135er, I think,
mhm,
and he's gonna fight since since they don't cut weight to get to where they are because they can't rehydrate, right? They only get like 4 hours.
yeah,
When they go pro, they're gonna fight a weight class down most likely. So almost all these guys are gonna be like flyweights, and so it's a small division. Tony's a 145er. He's probably gonna fight at bantamweight when he gets to the UFC or to Combate. Like it would just wouldn't make sense for him to fight, at the weight that he can easily walk around at. And that's just not how a lot of these fighters do nowadays. And you can't put yourself at that disadvantage. But 170 is just, you want to see these guys face good competition to see how good they are, and it's kind of hard when there's just not that much talent that comes out in fights. But that was a good fight, man. Hey, how about the other girl fight after that? Kayleen Cabral versus the girl from Classic Fight Team. It was before it
yeah,
actually. That was a fun
yes,
fight.
yeah. That was
Uh,
super fun, man.
yeah, I thought I'm a big fan of Kayleen. Kayleen came out. It was against Mackenzie. I want to say her name is Mackenzie Jade, but it might
Mm,
be a different last name. That might just be your Instagram handle. But she came out against Mackenzie and she broke her nose, or she busted her nose up in the beginning of the fight, and she was just bloody. She was a bloody mess. She really bloodied up Mackenzie's outfit, and she got beat up that fight. And Mackenzie trains out of Black House, and so I've seen her. She ended up winning that fight, but Kayleen hung in tough, man, and she looked really like a warrior at the end of the fight because she could have just packed it in and been like, all right. I think they wanted to stop the fight. It was bleeding so bad at first, and she kept fighting, and made it a competition. I know since then she went on to do a Muay Thai fight. She fought Wilson Ha's wife for a Muay Thai fight, and she lost that fight. And then now here she comes back, and that camp that she's in, GTA, I'm a big fan of, man. That what is it? It's they got David. Oh man, I'm gonna blank on all their names. Rayshawn Wallen fights out of there. The other guy that was on Anthony Diaz Servo fights out of there. They got some good fighters out of that GTA camp. If you want to keep an eye on a camp, GTA, they always bring the fight. They bring a large crowd with them a lot. Those are good guys to watch. But she fights out of there. But that girl from the Classic, man, what was her name? I'm losing track of what her name was.
Angel. I know
Rudez?
she. Yes, yes.
Yeah, she looked good. This was a good fight. I thought it was I was surprised it was a 30-27. You know, when I'm scoring up there, like I'm not really scoring, I'm trying to take pictures. I thought it was a lot closer. They gave her a 30-27 though.
I agree. I agree. I seen her fight out of the SparStars on the last event in November as well, and she dominated her opponent that fight. So I was really interested. I haven't seen Kayleen fight. This was my first time seeing her fight, so I was really interested in seeing that matchup. And I agree. I thought it was a lot closer than what the judges ended up saying. But man, it was a good fight. That was definitely one that I think all the girl fights, I every single girl fight, all the time, they show up, man. Sometimes it's I get there and I'm so excited to see the girls more than I am the guys, because sometimes the guys, they'll try to get their feet wet and kind of like just test the waters. But the girls, as soon as the bell rings, bro, they go after it. And this was no different. Kayleen and Angel just went after it, bro.
I just wonder if it's kind of like a thing of like there's not as many girls at the gym, so they feel like they got to step it up and like kind of earn their place, and they feel the same way when they come to the show. It's like, hey, we gotta, because remember when they came into the UFC, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, even though there wasn't a whole lot of them, they were like the most exciting fights to watch. Was the girl fights. You were waiting for them to come on because it was like, wow, these guys, they give it their all. And I'm with you, man.
And the great thing to see is now that MMA and just combat sports in general, now that the women are really investing time, and you see these young kids that are also just getting interested in the sport, the level of the women martial arts is just rising. So you see these young kids in there and they're 0-1 or 1-0, but their level is really high, man. So it's not like you're just going in and you're just seeing a little cat fight that you see, on the streets. It's like, no, they're out there really just, it's skill. They're technicians, man, and they just go after it. So yeah, it was a great fight.
Yeah, man. That's what's really cool about SparStar is they grab from so many different camps. I know from working with George, he used to have like a base of like, let's say like 6 camps that he just stuck to, and he kind of still does, and that's not a bad thing. It's because these guys work well with them and their fighters show up. The worst thing that happens is when people sign to fight and then they just don't show up the day of the fight. We've had it happen plenty of times. When I was with Fighters Rep, there was a guy who sent a picture to George, and it was like a wrecked car. He's like, I just got in a car accident. And then George is just like, kind of like, you got in a car wreck the day of weigh-ins, and you're just sending me a picture of like a wreck. Like, it was weird. Like, you could tell, it's like, look, you didn't want to fight. You just you didn't have to. You strung them along. So to be able to pull from my point being is you'd only get 6 camps here at the SparStar, man. Like, when you look at their lineup and you look at all the different people that they brought, I mean, there's a lot of big camps. There's a lot of different camps in there, man. There's a lot of different looks you're gonna see. You got Dan Henderson, Athletics. You got Joe Stevenson's Cobra Kai, Classic Fight Team. You had CSW, Kings MMA, Uprise MMA. I mean, fuck, dude, the fucking MMA scene's healthy in Southern California.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something that I love about SparStars, like to your point, is just being able to see all the different camps, because being new to the scene, I've basically watched UFC and Bellator most of my combat sports experience, and so now that I'm in the amateur scene and I'm starting to see all these other gyms that are trying to produce these top athletes, it's great to see. Like to your point, you have all of these great camps. I'm looking at the card to my right over here, and to your point, Switch Fitness. Obviously, you got Black House and CMMA who have been producing great athletes, King's MMA. You got, like you said, all these camps, man. Blackbeard and Excel Jiu Jitsu, Tills BJJ, like so many camps, man. So many. So it's great to see, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's fun because it's like to me the more camps, the more different styles you're gonna see in there, more competition. That's what's always fun. You can always meet different coaches, and it's all you never know who's gonna be like rise to the cream of the crop. Because remember the UFC, like I don't know how long you've been a fan. I'm a lot older than you. I'm 40. Uh, when I first started watching UFC, there was like three camps. It was like Jackson's, Extreme Couture, and then like Faraz Hobby over there in Canada kind of had one. The kid that was in Seattle had one. Not Matt. Demetrius Johnson's coach. That was
Mhm.
another camp. There's only a couple, and now there's a lot in the UFC. There's a lot. They fight from all over. So it's good to see that too in the local scene. It's good to see a lot of different competition. You'll see a lot of different fighters, a lot more development. There's going to be different levels to the game, but that's one thing I like about SparStar, man. They give a lot of guys uh, an opportunity to show, and we're gonna start wrapping it up. But I just want to say, like that's their production value, man. You can't ask for a better production than SparStar. Like I won't sit here and tell you who's better than the other, but I'll tell you SparStar is right up there with the top of everybody. Their shows were excellent. That show last night was awesomely well done.
Yeah, man. Can you still hear me? I don't know. I think I
Yeah, I can
lost you
still
for a
hear
second.
you. I can hear you.
Okay,
No, I can
yeah,
hear you.
100%, bro. I agree with you 100%. The show is great. The production value is great. Um, One thing I want to give a shout out to is just number one, the staff, bro. The staff, they're so friendly and accommodating. Um, yeah, we, like you said, there was a whole bunch of photographers, a whole bunch of media, and the fact that if you're a up and coming photographer and you want to go into combat sports, I would definitely try to get into Spar Stars or promotions like a Spar Stars, because you're gonna get you have a better chance of getting credentials and just getting your experience there, and you could build relationships with a lot of these gyms and these amateur fighters, which is exactly what I did. And I also want to give a shout out to the Commerce Casino, because every event that I've been at the Commerce Casino, they do an amazing job. The staff there, they do an amazing job, and they really try to just make the event as smooth as possible. And yeah, man, just shout out to everybody behind the scenes because they're doing a great job.
Dude, I just want to touch on what you just said. I'll touch on a couple different things. First off, 100% right on the Commerce Casino. For Southern California, I can think of two locations that you look forward to going to. I look forward to going to the Commerce Casino. I look forward to going to, I think it's called the Burbank Marriott in
Yes.
Burbank. Those guys
Hmm.
are a real professional group too. They're always friendly and helpful. The staff that work there. Also, I love that venue, that outdoor venue, because they used to do everything in a ballroom, and this feels like a big event. Even though it's only maybe like 1,500, 2,000 people, I don't know how many actual are able to fit there. It feels
Hmm.
really huge in there. It feels like when the crowd gets in there, it doesn't feel small, and it feels like there's a lot of people. So I really like the work there. I like I wanted to comment on how cool that staff is with SparStar actually, because they are. It's the one that you introduced me to that was working there. What was his name? Jesse? Is
Yes,
that the
sir. Jesse
yeah,
Gonzalez. Shout out to Jesse, man.
dude? Jesse helped me get up on top. Like the last time they were too crowded, and Michael Gross, who's their main guy that we talked to, like when you try to get a credential, I talked to Mike, and he had told me the last time, hey, we got a lot of guys already, and if you think you can get good shots from the bottom, you do that, but all the perches are taken. So Jesse helped me, and I noticed there was one empty, and I asked you to help me out, and Jesse helped me out, And I thought that was awesome, man, because they could have just been like, I don't know nothing, you know. They could be too busy to deal with anybody, you know. Like they could just say like, hey, I got stuff going on. Don't worry about yourself. But they're not. They're friendly and helpful, and they couldn't be nicer guys. Mike is one of the best guys in the business. Tony, the promoter, has to be a dope dude. I don't interact with him a lot because he's usually off on the back chilling out.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's the guy that I talk to the most. I know Mike now for like 5 years, and I know. I mean, I've met him once or twice, but we contact throughout Instagram once in a while. And I remember I hit him up, and I was just like, "Hey, dude, is there any?" I hit him up like a day before, and I was like, "Hey, is there any room?" And he's like, we're actually full to capacity, dude. But you know what? You helped us out so much. Go ahead and come on down. And I thought that was dope because he didn't have to do that. There's nothing making him give me a free entry in there. So that's why I always try to hook him up with the best photos. Those guys are awesome, dude. I really like the SparStar guys. The last thing I want to talk about, you talked about it. If you want to become a photographer, if you want to get into reporting MMA or like, I don't know what you would call it, like influencing. I don't know if it would influence, but if you like wanted to have like your own social media um, correspondence with fighters, dude, SparStar for one is a great one to start with. But really, I'm gonna tell you 100%, guys. Isaac did it. You did it, and that's you got to get to the fight gyms. You got to go talk to the fighters. You got to go meet these guys. You got to if you get a relationship at the gym to someone they can trust, like, hey, you're not just there to waste their time. You're gonna promote these guys as far as like you're gonna be a vehicle that they can use for promotion. Because we're not promoters. We're just we're helping them to promote themselves as we build our brand. You know, once you do that, then they want to see you there. And then once they want to see you there, it's a lot easier to get credentialed. You go, you see the fight. You got to act professional when you're there. You don't go there and just sit back and watch the fight and drink a beer. You got to make sure you make the most out of your time because there's a lot of competition. As we've seen, there was 8 of us there. And that was just us, like
That was just the people that we know, and there was
yeah,
other people.
there was people
Just
we didn't know, right?
yeah.
And then we don't know who else they had because I know like Joy the Bull was there to do post fight interviews and stuff like that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you could get into, and if you want to, you just gotta show these guys that you're willing to work, that you're willing to give them good effort, and most of these guys, most of these companies, I know we're talking about SparStar. The number one that I can tell you will help you out a lot. There's George Francis. He's an awesome guy to work with when you want to break into the business. I know the guys that Up Next, they were very friendly to me. They're a little bit more crowded. There was a lot more people that want to do business with them. So maybe that's a little bit harder to get into. But there's always a promotion coming up. There's always another one that wants to pop up. They're out there. If you just reach out to these guys, it's a good way to get in there. And I would say the best way to do it is start with the fighters. You go to their camp. You go to their and that's what I got told right off the bat. When I first got into this, I was doing boxing only. And the guy told me, he goes, don't even bother trying to go to the shows, like trying to ask for a credential because most boxing shows, they got so much media there.
Oh yeah.
They pick and choose. You almost need an invite from the fighter.
Mm-hmm.
You almost need them to put their word in. So they were like, look, go to the gym. Just take pictures of them at the gym. Everybody likes a photo, and then once they trust you and they know that you're there to work, you don't got to suck up to anybody. You just show like, hey, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, and it's all mutually beneficial. It'll get you in there, and then you take it where you can take it. It's whatever your hustle is. Like I say, there was a fighter there who's a pro fighter, used to fight in the UFC. He's trying to go back, wanted a personal photographer. That could be a route that you can go to. You can be somebody's personal photographer, and maybe that'll help break you out. There's always a role for everybody, but I definitely think you should look into that. Definitely look into going to the next SparStar show, man. Next time we'll have this set up a little bit better. We'll get the pictures. We'll have some a little format better where we can know exactly, show some highlights of the show. I have it set up that I can do that. I just wasn't ready for it today. But I just wanted to get out there because I didn't have much time this week. But thanks for joining me today, Isaac, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, Marco. Shout out to Fight Life Nation. They have great content. The guy behind the scenes right here is Marco himself. So give him a follow. I'm Isaac Lawrence. Follow me on all my platforms at Isaac Lawrence. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity, man. It's always fun linking up with you. Whether it's in person or virtual, we always have great conversations and just talk fight. And just to add to what you were saying, man, like if you want to get into the business, like you said, just grind and get in the gyms, man. I started this in March of 2020, and man, now I'm going to all these events, and it's amazing, man. Like if you love fights, there's nothing better, man. Just being there live, right there, and just seeing these fights and all these Southern California events. If you're a fan, go in person. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. Every single promotion, whether it's Up Next, whether it's Fighters Rep, SparStars, whatever promotion is nearby, go and support these fighters because you never know. One of them might be the next UFC, Bellator, PFL, whatever champion, and he might be in your own backyard. So go check it out. I'm telling you, you're not gonna regret it.
That's 100% the truth, brother. All right, brother.